Carolyn DeLoreto is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, an LMFT counselor, a remote energy practitioner, an educator, and an inspirational speaker. Carolyn wrote the book From Lyme to Light to share her health and wellness journey that began with an inaccurate diagnosis of dementia, a stroke, and then a near-death experience, all of which stemmed from a tick bite. Carolyn's goal in writing this book is to empower others to take control of their own health, to trust their body and intuition, and to learn how to tap into their physical, emotional, mental, social, and spiritual body. Carolyn, it's so great to see you.
It's so nice to see you, Marcy. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I know you're super, super busy and still in the middle of your wellness journey with stuff going on, which we can talk about after. But why don't you begin by sharing, your unbelievable story of survival in the journey to recover from Lyme disease?
Yeah, so back in 2016, in June, I was on a camping trip in California, and I got a tick bite on my thigh. I woke up one morning, there's something on my thigh. There was a tick. I went to the doctor and got 2 weeks of doxycycline, and I took it. And what ended up happening was I thought it was all good. June went great after no symptoms, nothing going on. And slowly, I started to have memory issues that I didn't pick up on related to the tick. Um, and this led over the course of the summer. I started to have, it was working memory first. I was trying to learn how to do like a cash register and I couldn't remember how. And I just thought it was a weird off day, those kind of symptoms. Couldn't remember how to make a sandwich. Pretty
Mm,
basic things.
mm,
Thought I was a little bit fatigued, tired, and just slowly crept in. And by August, I was at a conference for Gestalt play therapy, and I was supposed to draw a picture. And I'm an artist. I like to draw. I can draw someone's face from memory and
mm,
details and everything. And all I could do was a stick figure of the house and a stick figure of a kid. And I was like, something is going on. Something's wrong. So my visual memory really started to go in August. And then this led to also in August, I started to have heart palpitations at night that would cause me to black out. And finally went to a cardiologist in September. And he's like, you're too young to have heart problems. You're too healthy looking. Like he did a test and then it was not a good results, but he said we must have done it wrong and ignored it. So things just kept going and kind of these weird, wasn't even thinking about that tick bite. So, and that just led to my memory just continued to decline. And it was so slow and gradual that you kind of get used to it in a weird way and don't put it together. It was getting a little scary. I started seeing more and more doctors. And I'd be on my walks and runs and suddenly one of my legs would just give out. I'd fall flat on my face and I couldn't use it. So then they were looking at MS, they're looking at chronic fatigue, all these things. And then finally had in January. So this is how so you can see a progression of how Lyme can present itself. It's the great mimicker. It can turn into many different diagnoses and it can be kind of changed suddenly and look like something else. So lots of other things like gut stuff I was having as well. And they just started saying it's all in your head. You need to see a psychiatrist. I was already working with a therapist anyways. And it was in my head. They were right. It was neurological Lyme disease, but I didn't find that out till I was diagnosed first with early onset dementia, early Alzheimer's. And they told me that there was nothing they could do and they were going to stop testing or trying to figure out what was wrong with me and that I should get my affairs in order. And I was 32 years old. So, and I was fine 7 months earlier when I got this diagnosis. And I was doing well. I was teaching. I was a full-time teacher and I was a therapist with kids and teens and families for chronic health issues. So I was very functioning. And now I almost had no memory at that point. The dementia was so bad. Couldn't get myself anywhere. Couldn't remember anything. But I had the stroke in April 2016. And then I was just sitting in my chair with my husband and watching TV one night. And I was having more of a good brain day is what I called it, which was like I could walk and do things and kind of had more energy. And all of a sudden, just really sharp pain above my in my head, and it was kind of near the ear and back behind the eyeball, and so bad. And I just stood up and was like, "Ah, what's going on?" And Adam, my husband, and I said I had to go to the bathroom, so we went to the bathroom. And then by the time I finished going to the bathroom, I couldn't use my right side, and I was pretty sure I was having a stroke. So I told him to take me to the hospital. We went, and they said, "Yep, you're having a full stroke." Um, and then spent a couple days in the hospital, about a week, and got an MRI, which I'll talk about in a sec. But that led to a near-death experience. But the in the end, when I came out of the hospital, one of the doctors said quietly to me, "This is how Lyme's getting more widely diagnosed and talked about now with doctors, but this was 7 years ago, and they were still like so. They would get in trouble if they like diagnosed Lyme in the allopathic medicine sometimes. So the doctor whispered to my husband and I, "You guys should go get Lyme tested. She looks like she could have Lyme, but I'm not allowed to do that or even say it here. Don't tell anyone I told you." And so we got tested when I got out, and it came back positive with a ton of co-infections. And so I started treatment, and that my memory started coming back, and I started getting better. But
So obviously, I have to ask how, and you mentioned that this was 7 years ago, and doctors were just not on the forefront of understanding Lyme, or they felt they couldn't talk about the link to Lyme disease. But the fact that you had this tick bite that past summer, it's shocking to me that no doctor, until this doctor whispered in your ear, told you that possibly there's a connection and maybe go get tested for Lyme. But he was so ashamed to or had to say it in such a quiet manner because he was afraid of getting in trouble. Like,
yeah,
how did none of your other doctors over this course of, what is it, 8, 9 months now, suggest a blood test to rule that out?
yeah, I think it's something that actually happens to a lot of people that have Lyme disease that I've talked to, and so this is a really good question. So here I am. I was aware of Lyme disease, and I even got the 2 weeks of treatment when I
Mhm.
got the tick bite. But because Lyme can show up in so many different ways, and this one was more silent and slow in how it progressed and showed up. It wasn't like right away. There's your bullseye rash, and your joints are hurting right away, and you've got a fever and all that stuff. It kind of just faded to the background and became something that they weren't even thinking about because I had been treated with it for 2 weeks, so it must have been gone. This is something new going on.
Wow.
Uh, and because the symptoms were so neurological, mine was so neurological. Lyme is even more missed a lot of the times
Mhm.
because, like we think of Lyme disease as just the joint. You get the joints and there's all these like the fevers and I had some of that stuff, but not it wasn't the main characteristics. It got missed because the neurological Lyme can show up in your spine and all over, and it moves around so much. Um, you just lose. You don't think it's the tick bite. It had really good doctors, but they a lot of the ones I was seeing that I got referred to were like neurologists and
Mm.
cardiologists. And there I was in California, and at the time, I'm hoping it's gotten better in the last 7 years. I don't know for sure if it has, but Lyme disease was such a woo woo. If you said it, like you can't have it. We don't have it on the West Coast. We don't have
Mm.
it's like birds don't travel with ticks on their back across state borders. Like there's been tons of studies up in the Bay Area now at Stanford University on Lyme, and it's all over up there. So that's helping wake them up. But they're so scared to put that a diagnosis on that they'll be judged by the other doctors and stuff that I don't think they even wanted to think about ordering it. It's kind of like a blinder. So
Wow, that's crazy to me. How is it possible that a bite from a tick can wreak such havoc in the body? And then my other question is, two people are bitten by the same tick, are they both going to have the same outcome?
good question. The way that a tick bite can cause such havoc in the body is you have to understand that when a tick bites someone, attaches, and then it has inside of it like a little bit of like blood and things left from other things it's bitten and sucked before. So
Mhm.
it can carry the Lyme spirochete inside of it and co-infections. So they're both in there. So when it bites someone, it it actually it will take their blood in and actually change its chemistry. The actual tick will change its chemistry in its body to match like the Lyme will inside the tick. Sorry about that. But the Lyme will change its chemistry so that it can survive in that blood and then inject itself in through the tick's mouth into the person's blood. So it's Lyme is smart enough to change its own makeup to survive in your body better
Wow.
before it comes into your body. So it tastes the blood and then the Lyme goes in. And what it does is it goes through your blood and pumps through your whole body, and it will like go into different tissue and organs, and it's a spirochete, so it will bore its way in. And what happens is once it's in there, the end of the spirochete has an enzyme. It produces enzymes that tell the immune system to turn off.
Wow.
So this is where the havoc comes in. So you don't know that you have this Lyme that has now moved in your blood. So it can get into your blood brain barrier with your brain. It can get into your heart. It can get into any of your organs. It can get into your tissue. And once it's stored, it's bored itself in. It can hibernate or sit in there for as long as it wants, and the immune system can't find it. On top of it, it's putting the enzymes off, so it's lowering your immune system in general. So now you become someone who has like a little bit of a lower immune system, and your immune system can't find the infection. So uh, when it's first in the blood, that's why you might have a reaction right after you get bitten. You might
Mhm.
get a fever. Your immune system kind of catches it, but once it's bore in, it can hide. So part of the treatment process also becomes a problem is that it's hiding or it's in biofilm, which is a way it protects itself, or our immune system is protecting itself by putting it in biofilm. We're not sure which one, but either way, that makes it even harder to treat because if you take meds to treat it, the biofilm protects the spirochete from being treated.
Right.
So, or being released and taken out of the body as a toxin, like taken out. So, with this, I just wanted to give you that background
Mm.
because then you asked about different people getting different, do they get the same thing or not with the same
Mhm.
tick? The answer is every single human being has a different chemistry, a makeup, different levels of stress, which contribute to their vulnerability, right? Different genetics, different blood types, and all of these things, deficiencies. So, all of these things make that each of us completely individual and how we're going to react to the Lyme. There's a huge list of Lyme symptoms that you can get that are all for Lyme. So you might get a combo of them. You might have all of them. You might have one of them.
Right.
You might not have any, and you're asymptomatic. But it's kind of like homeopathy. You have to treat each individual as like what they specifically need,
Right.
and that's really hard for allopathic medicine, especially. But everyone, it takes a lot more time. You have to have time, and Lyme patients have to take a lot more time with a doctor, and in a 15-minute session that you're allowed, or a half an hour with your primary care, or you're trying to figure out what's going on, there's not enough time to figure out that it could be Lyme a lot of the times because it it can look like so many other things, and it's not like a easy here everybody take this and it's going to get rid of it.
Right. If you suspect that you have it, the blood test will determine if you're carrying those antibodies. Is that right?
Yes, so this is another piece is testing has been so poor over the years. Like the general tests that most allopathics can just order and it's covered by insurance. I don't know about in Canada, like if it's covered different, covered
Mm.
differently. But a lot of the general ones don't actually, it's just like testing for one antibody of the Lyme. And there's a few that are more important to actually know if you have it or if it's active. And so it won't show positive unless you're like really bad, or even
Mm.
then it won't show positive sometimes. So you want to make sure you're getting a test like IGeneX here is what is the one of the best tests there is. it's really accurate, and they have funding help for first time testers, or it's a private company. It's covered by, for America, it's covered by Medicare. I don't know what Canada has. I'd have to look, but I know that there's probably stuff there too. And then there's some urine tests out there that are great. So they're getting more and more testing
Good.
that actually shows if the spirochete is there, if it's active, and can test for all the co-infections, which is a huge piece of what makes you so sick, because your toxic burden in your body becomes so high that you can't your health, your immune system can't keep up with just the Lyme. It would be one thing, but you have 12 co-infections like parasites and viruses and bacteria, Babesia, Bartonella, anaplasm. So all these things start building up, and they all create byproducts that, like endotoxins and exotoxins and all these things. So your body, your liver starts getting over it. Methylation gets over programmed, overworked, and then you're a toxic mess, and you're getting sicker and sicker. So
Wow.
yeah.
Just going down that rabbit hole, right? With all
Yeah,
these.
so, but you can heal. You can heal.
Yes. Well, that's what, so yeah, you're a testament to that. And you don't have to live with it, with these symptoms forever and ever and ever. There's so much you can do, which is why I was so excited to talk to you, and why I think your book is
Yeah.
so powerful. But in your book also, you don't just talk about Lyme disease, which is fascinating. You're talking about all autoimmune disorders. You're talking about anything that you go to the doctor for. And this was an interesting one for me, is like on the very first page of your book, you tell your readers that when a doctor tells you that the health condition that you have is not treatable and that there is nothing further that they can do, that this is when you need to like become alert. It's basically they don't know what else to tell you to do. Like they're kind of out of options in their knowledge base. And but don't take that as like the final word on your prognosis and your diagnosis, is that, there's always something you can do. So maybe you could elaborate on this a little bit.
Yeah. So, like, what I found, and I worked with a naturopathic doctor for about 2 years with chronically ill patients, and who had Lyme, who had all sorts of diagnoses, dementia, all sorts of things that they were told that they'd never get better from. And so many of them did recover and actually get better. Our body can heal. It wants to heal. It has the power to heal if you give it what it needs. And so getting to the core or the cause. So when you hear a doctor say there's nothing else we can do, it's for me, that's like, okay, what is the cause, or what is at the core of this? And if I can't figure that out, you can always go simple and start going, well, how am I doing detoxifying, methylation, detoxification in my body? Am I somewhat toxic right now, like from environmental exposures? Am I getting exposed to things like chemicals, mold, EMFs, food, like looking at the foods that you eat? If you're eating a lot of sugar, if you're eating a lot of dairy, and all, there's foods that are known as inflammatory, like they're more likely to cause inflammation. So if you're at a state where you're getting a diagnosis of something, you're probably inflamed. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. So how can you can do something, even though you have this diagnosis, you can try to get that inflammation down, and that's stuff you can do at home, or you can, create a healing team that isn't just your allopathic doctor that told you there's no hope. Go find an ND, and a naturopathic doctor, or go find an alternative doctor or a health coach, someone who, a nutritionist, someone who knows how to help you if find ways to bring your inflammation down, or detoxify. If you have a lot of stress in your life, find things that can help bring down that stress, and get brutal with it. Like, cut those things out and see what happens, because this is your life. Like, whatever's causing you stress, make that list, and it's okay. Like, you are worth it. Like, cut some of that stuff out, and you can always add it back in later, but like right now, but when you start doing that work, and then you're looking at your spirit side and purpose, am I on my path, am I in alignment with my soul? Like, when we're out of alignment with our soul, we get sick. There's a piece where we forget and we get busy, especially like as life gets going. You get a career, and then you get busy and you get going, and suddenly you're sick and it's like, wait a sec, what am I doing? Is there anything in my life that's not in alignment with where I want to be? And that is a stressor. That's stress. And stress causes our cells to close off and not allow nutrition in or toxins out. So inflammation. That's kind of the thinking. It's like, what's causing it? What's at the core? Don't give up. If you know inside that you still have life in you and that this doesn't feel right, trust that and keep searching and keep asking for help and keep asking for what you need. And but you're the only one that can do it. Like no one else can do it for you. And that's like something that you really get to experience and learn. You're like, oh, this is my body. This is my life. I'm the only one that can speak up for my life and also do the things I need to do to get better. So
Right. Yeah, we have the power to do all that, and you have to want to do it. Obviously, a lot of it's mindset, and it's a lot of work.
it's
But
hard.
if you don't take it on at the time or even before illness sets in, then
Yeah.
it's a much longer process. And I really liked what you said about receiving that diagnosis. That it's simply a label, and diagnosis can change, and we can change that. And if you don't like the opinion of the one doctor you saw, find another opinion, find somebody else, and don't and look outside the box. There's lots of health practitioners out there in the alternative medical spectrum that may have a different insight, different ways, different tools that they can help you, kind of evolve through it. Knowledge is power, and you're right, it's your body, it's your life. So you have to kind of do the work. That's another thing about allopathic medicine that's unfortunate is it's just not set up to get to the root of the problem, right? Like that, even just going back to figure out what's the root of everything that was going on with you is the Lyme disease.
Yeah.
So nobody kind of pointed back to that
Well,
trigger.
the
And
Lyme disease, and it goes even further back. It's like, well, what made me vulnerable to get the Lyme?
right, fair.
Something
That's a good
happening.
point.
My immune system was a little bit more down. I had inflammation and chronic stuff.
Hmm.
And that's also reason why everybody shows up differently with
Right.
if they might get Lyme, but not show up a lot with anything. And it just kind of, they live their life and they have it. It's fine. Other people get deathly sick. So it's like, then you're treating all the sides and now you're actually getting to even the cause under the Lyme, why you got the Lyme. Like the Lyme disease was the infection, right? That
Right.
caused it.
Yeah.
But
That's a great point. That's a
that's
great
why
point. Yeah.
homeopathy helps rebuild your vital force or your, your immune system and your ability to rebound. So you wouldn't get as sick when if you do get exposed to Lyme or something. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I love so much about homeopathy is it just increases our strength of our vital force so that when we are come across these things, whether it's EMFs or toxins in our food or in our environment or stressful situations, we're more equipped to handle it. So you also mentioned with Lyme disease that there are co-infections.
Oh yeah, when you get a Lyme tick bite, it's injecting the Lyme in, but with that, in that same blood that the tick carries, it can carry other infections. Is one way that we can get co-infections. And the other infections could be types of parasites, like Babesia is a big one. It's kind of like the malaria of the West Coast, is what it has like a name. Uh, it can cause breathing issues and stuff because your red blood cells, it's inside the red blood cells. You could get Bartonella, which can also cause neurological Lyme type symptoms. That's cat scratch fever as well, but it can be transferred through the tick bite. Anaplasma, there's a bunch of other bacterias. There's a whole list if you go online, but all of them have different symptoms that show up, which is why you also end up with all these symptoms when you have Lyme, because Lyme doesn't usually come by itself. It usually comes with
Right.
co-infection. Now they're all hitting the immune system at once. So that's also
Right.
another reason you can get so sick. The
Right.
other is once you have the Lyme, like I told you, it puts off an enzyme that tells your immune system to kind of go to sleep, like kind of it lowers your immune system overall. So when it's doing that, it also does it to your thyroid. It goes and at the Lyme, one of the first places it likes to go is into the thyroid to turn down thyroid so that your body temperature goes down a little bit.
Mm.
Less enzyme reactions are happening in your body that keep you healthy and well.
Mm.
And that gives them a chance to grow more because the immune system isn't finding them. So you have both these things going on. Now you go to eat dinner out somewhere, or you get exposed to a parasite or something while you're eating, and your body's not working as well as it normally would. Now you're getting things when you're getting exposed to them instead of fighting them off right away. So
Right.
suddenly you have this huge burden of co-infections that can be, it can be H. pylori, and then you have candida, which is a yeast overgrowth, because it's opportunistic. So it kind of comes in as your gut. Lyme also goes to your gut as one of the first spots and makes, so it can make leaky gut syndrome, which also increases all the inflammation. So, and brain barrier issues. So it's just a cascade of things, but that's why co-infections end up being such a big piece. And there's a certain order. Sometimes when you go to treat Lyme, if you just go after the Lyme, you almost
Right.
can't get to it because it's not the priority for the immune system or your vital force. It's not its priority yet. It's kind of sitting on the side. The priority is this big parasite that's taking over. So you have to like kind of that's where muscle testing and bioenergetic testing can really help a doctor kind of figure out what's the priority to treat first and
Right.
what order. And then it opens doors and you can get better a lot quicker. So parasites and those are usually something you might treat first, and then like H. pylori, parasites, and then kind of go down and then the Lyme. And then you can really get to the Lyme. So
Wow. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's a process. So,
Yeah.
I like what you're talking about, though. So besides the antibiotics and the antivirals and
Yes.
the, allopathic path, the pharmaceuticals, what are some of the other things that you undertook to help heal from Lyme disease?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, and I want to make it clear, like allopathic medicine has its place and it's really important. Like
Mhm.
I totally support taking the antibiotics, the things that you need. But yes, you really do need a more well-rounded like treatment. So you could do things like nutritional supplements that go after bacterias or the species. Remedies. There's remedies out there and tinctures. Um, there's a lot of great companies that like do specific ones for Lyme infections.
Mhm.
Homeopathy, they have great different ones for the different co-infections as well. Um, and let me think here. And then doing detoxification, so taking binders,
Mhm.
support for your methylation cycle and system. A lot of the times, people who get Lyme and get more sick tend to have like methylation genetics that are a little bit like missing something or,
Right.
or just more vulnerable. I can't think of the word, but so like you might need some folate or some B12 or so these are things like if you don't have those in place, you can't
Right.
do the killing of the infections
Mm.
because they create toxins. And if you're already so toxic you can't deal with it, it'll just make you even sicker.
Right.
So you want to support the methylation cycle, and that supplements are amazing for that. And getting someone who really knows that for you is an important piece, like how to support
Mhm.
methylation. Glutathione.
Yeah.
Doing enemas is something, enemas and colonics. I know people could be weird about the butt area, but I am letting you know that it is so worth it. If you have Lyme or any chronic
Mm.
illness, you can make such progress so much faster when you add colonics or enemas, gut cleansing and coffee enemas increase glutathione up to 500%, like
Wow.
when you do a coffee enema. And it takes like 3 minutes of holding the coffee in, and then you let it out, wash it out with some water, and you just got a boost of this detoxification. Your liver can let stuff out and your toxic burden was full, and now it's like way down and you can do more killing, you can get
Mm.
better faster, and you're less inflamed. And the brain, oh, the brain fog that you can get with Lyme or chronic illness or anything, it can be
Right.
horrible, and clarity. And when you do an enema, it could just be a water fill even. When you clean your gut, it's your second brain, you clean it, your brain gets clear. And it's such a gift when you just want your brain back so that you can think and like help yourself have more energy to get better or to make decisions or to clean up the house or whatever. Do an
Oh.
enema.
Do
or your die off. So there's something that happens when we go to treat the Lyme disease or any other you're treating, and your body will have a Herxheimer reaction, which is a die off. and it can cause more symptoms and a flare up.
Mm.
You might get fevers or feel horrible, or if you do an enema, you can literally like almost wash the die-off reaction out, and you just feel
Wow.
so much better.
Wow.
So it's just another tool that
That's
you can,
amazing.
for $10 you can get a kit.
You also talked about, and I know other detoxing methods are, saunas,
Yes,
dry skin brushing, massage, lymphatic drainage.
yes,
Obviously, movement, exercise is so important, and that's a hard one because when you're feeling crappy, last thing you want to do is move your body, go for a walk, or push some weights around, right? So, but it's so crucial to get that sweat, to get that body detoxing, and then of course nutrition, making
nutrition,
sure your diet is as clean as it possibly can be to help support all the things going on with it.
huge. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, Carolyn, you mentioned that often a challenging experience, such as the one you've just gone through, recovering from Lyme, it acts as a healing catalyst. You write about this in your book. What exactly do you mean by this?
Yeah. Okay. So I think when anybody's going through chronic illness or Lyme disease, in this case, you go through, if you've been dealing with it for a while, if it's chronic, it affects every area of your life. So your mental, emotional health, your relationship with your husband or wife or partner, your and family, your relationship with your friends. You might not be able to be as social. You're more tired. You have pain, whatever it is. But it affects so many areas that you go through a big shift of having to go deep inside and kind of look, if you really want to get better and you want to like what's the purpose in being here when I just feel so horrible all the time, or there am I ever going to get better, am I ever going to be able to do the things I used to do,
Mm,
um or you might have a lot of shame or guilt for not being able to go to work or to show up, and people don't really understand because you might look normal. A lot of people that have chronic illnesses look normal on the outside, and they get a lot of shame or guilt or judgment from people that they love that don't get it.
right.
So you go through a pretty dark night of the soul place sometimes, and to get through that and to really get to the healing state, um, on the other side, you have to make a decision on and change your mindset. And so I find it as like a big catalyst for change. Like it can make a person's life so much more like meaningful, and they end up making those dramatic cuts or boundaries of things that aren't that important that they're doing at an earlier age, like well, whenever it happens to you, but you're more likely to have like you don't have enough energy to do all the stuff, so you choose much
Right.
easier. Okay, I'm going to cut this out. This isn't worth it. This isn't a priority. This isn't important, and not people pleasing as much, or just doing it because you're doing it. And that really is what I feel like the catalyst for change is that comes. And it's a spiritual growth process because you have
Right.
to go inside and go, what's my purpose? And a lot of people will even change their career to be more of service for other people, or they might find God or a higher power, or meditate, or find things that really mean more to them, that aren't just stuff or that kind
Right.
of thing.
One of the things you incorporated in your healing journey is meditation. How did you find that helpful?
After the stroke and the near death, I was finding that when I'd go out and about, I had this experience where I couldn't separate myself from other people. Like I would just get information like I called them downloads.
Mm,
They're talking to you, Marcy. Suddenly I'm seeing all these pictures and download. It's like a download knowing of all this stuff that you're is about you. And
wow.
it would overwhelm me because if I went out in a crowd, I'd have so much information, I would just get overwhelmed.
Mm,
And I'd also pick on like the aura, or where stuff was off balance, like it would look frequency wise different. Our brains can do a lot. Like we all can do this. It's not like some gift or something. It's that my brain was damaged, so it was rewiring and things got
mhm.
activated. And people take drugs, they see things, but I wasn't on drugs in that way. But it's real stuff that you pick up on. But I needed to find a way to uh like be able to turn that off, because
Right.
it could be a gift to be able to, like, oh, I can read what's going on for you health wise or whatever. But no, it's a burden, and I don't need to know that. And I learned how to do something grounding.
Mm.
So I also learned about the auric field boundary, which is like the energy field boundary. Like we're all energy, and we do put off energy frequency that we can't see, but like they've measured it and they know it's there, and it's like a frequency around us.
Mhm.
So when I go to meditate, I learn to like see this auric field boundary around me, and I how to make it stronger and stronger so that I would have separation from other people when I'm out and about, but I could still interact with them. and and a grounding cord going all the way to the center of the earth. So our bodies really need to be grounded to the earth. So the frequency of the earth actually helps heal us. That's why walking barefoot is really important, and the ground. So I would do a meditation, and I would imagine the grounding cord going to the center of the earth and the auric field tucked into it. And I would started just visualizing this happening. And when I'd go out, it started to work. It fixed, it healed the brain things that were going on so that I could actually be around people and not be overwhelmed by all of the
Mhm.
information I was getting from everyone. So that was one thing that went on. The other thing is I would do meditation, and I learned to do self hypnosis.
Mm.
And I don't know. So what self hypnosis did was I would visualize, and it kind of goes with what quantum healing is now. Is like one of the ways that you do it is you can visualize using little cartoon pictures or something that for you brings you joy. But I would visualize like the little Lyme spirochetes. I had like these little cowboys and that with horses and lassos, and they were going through my body. I would think of a certain area, and I would say, like I would see them going in and like lassoing the spirochetes and taking them out. And
Mm.
when I started doing that visualization in my body, the most amazing thing happened. The next time I went to go get tested for Lyme, it came back negative. So this was
Wow.
like 2 months after starting that. And that was one of the main things extra that I had started on top of everything else I was doing. And I started getting better way faster. So the power of visualization and being in meditation can really increase, and it can be really fun. Like you can make the more it's fun, the more your body takes it in. Like so, it can be
Mm.
a you just come up with the picture, to heal whatever's going on. If you have a broken
Right.
hand and you like the feeling of sand, you could imagine sand filling in, or something. It's just it's a neat thing. Other thing is I like that meditation grounds me and connects me to my higher self, and I can hear myself. Is what
Mm.
I usually ask myself 3 questions. I say, "Am I Caroline DeLoreto? Am I 39 years old?" Or whatever age you are. And and I'll usually hear yes or no. And am I alone in my energy field? Because we can pick up foreign energy from other people. It's not a
Mm.
bad thing. But if I'm not, then I might visually like just think while I'm meditating, like I'm clearing that energy out and I'm grounding
Mm.
myself. And I am Caroline. I'm not Marcy today, 'cause I'm thinking about Marcy a lot or something like that. Um, so those 3 things, and then just you can kind of ask for help. That's a huge thing in meditation as well. You can sit and
Mm.
just quiet, um, breathing, and being present. I find
Yeah.
the rest of the day I feel so much more grounded, so
Mm.
much more love in my heart. I'll usually pray in some form, just putting gratitude out or praying for someone that I care about that's going through something. And that just my love increases. And then
Wow.
the day I'm more grounded
Right.
and I'm more present. And when I don't do it, there's a lot more chaos throughout the day.
You also talked about muscle testing or bioenergetic testing, and that can help with the healing process. Can you explain what muscle testing is?
So, muscle testing is a form of kinesiology, and you can, like, there's a lot of different ways you can muscle test, but chiropractors know a lot about it a lot of the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Alternative practitioners might be trained in it. Dr. Klinghardt, who's really big on Lyme disease, teaches a very specific form of muscle testing that's amazingly accurate and really helpful for Lyme patients. It's called art testing. When you go to do a muscle test, what's going on is there's you can use the arms, you can use the arm here, but or you can muscle test yourself. So I'm going to do it right now for myself. So okay, so um, you can do it with the fingers, and you can do a little loop like this, and then you go inside and you might ask a question like, am I Caroline? So for me, my finger goes up, that means yes, is what that's my and am I Marcy? No. And it looks like I'm just doing that right now, right? But what's happening is if it's a truth, your muscles will be strong, and if it's a lie, your muscles will be weak. So that's what it's got all the science but behind it and stuff. And there's ways that you do it so that it's more accurate or not. But so that's muscle testing is a way that we can ask the body and the energy field what it needs, what's going on, what's the priority. Might check in on meridians, which is somewhere where we also store like different emotional things going on that affect us physically. What needs clearing. I used muscle testing a lot to figure out what the priorities were for a treatment so that you could clear blocks. Like, what's blocking me right now? Is this the right supplement? How many should I take? You can, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get it'll say yes when it's the right one. Your body will tell the practitioner or yourself if you learn how to do it. It's not 100% accurate, nothing is, but like it's something that can just help give you more information, and you'll know if it's right or not. Like you'll get more and more in touch with yourself and what you need and what your body is trying to tell you. Bioenergetic testing is the same idea, but it's through, you can use, there's different types of testing devices, but they have, usually you put your hand on something or you hold something. Now they can do it remotely with saliva, and it goes into the machine. And there's some other ways, but that's using a computer, and it's amazing because it can scan your whole body, all your organ systems, based on the bioenergetic. So it's taking your energy field, and wherever it's strong or weak, that's how it's telling you if there's something wrong or not. So it can go in and like test the heart through the system. I'm having trouble explaining it, but
no, that's great. That's great.
So a bioenergetic tester will use a device, and then the computer program's amazing that they have now. And how I use it is I don't take it as fact, but like I'll use the results to get a better idea and picture of where I'm having problems and where I might need to focus my attention. And then I'll go out and get an allopathic medicine test if it exists to check whatever that came back, so that I can just have feedback. And almost most of the times, if they're good testers or they're legit, it comes back the same, like with the same info. So I've gotten to the point where I trust certain people that I've worked with long enough that I've done that. I trust their results a lot more than if I hadn't done that. So it's pretty amazing, and it can save you a lot of money because you know what supplements really are going to help you. Because most doctors go, here, take all these, but they don't really take time to think about your specific body and what you need. I might need only like half a pill, and they're giving me 4 pills. So, and that will make me toxic because all the extra stuff I have to process out. So, anyways,
fascinating.
There's something really cool just to know. The thymus gland is like right here. And if you, from bioenergetic testing, they found this. If you like tap it like 10 times, if you have a lower immune system or something like that, throughout the day, you can do 10 times and then take a break. It increases, like, and they actually checked it on blood, it increases your immune system like a lot and wakes it up. So that's just like it's so easy. I just sit and do this a couple times each day when I'm, and that's it. That's all it takes. And it actually shows that it increases in the blood. So
fascinating. I love we're coming out with all these incredible tests that are new, that are just testing energy and what else is going on out there, because up until now we haven't been able to see it. And so if you can't see something, it doesn't exist. And now at least we have some modern science that's kind of catching up to things people have been talking about for hundreds of years. Homeopathy is a great example of that. So it's fascinating. You talk a lot in your book about writing contracts with yourself. And why is this an important exercise for people to do?
So writing contracts was something that came to me when I had the near-death experience. And it was like a download thing I got, and it showed like writing contracts. And I knew I was supposed to go out. So to get better, when you have chronic illness or something like that, you kind of realize like I have a limited amount of energy, like compared to where I was when I was healthy or not
Mhm.
didn't have this. But what I learned really fast was this contracting that I had seen, and when I had the near death was about going and looking at. So first I looked at immediate family, like the people that are in my immediate circle. I consider them like family, like my boundaries are way less with them.
Mm.
And I looked at my relationships with each of those people. I kind of wrote them on a little circle, like put them in a circle and wrote down their names, like my family members who I have that inner circle with. And then I started looking at each one of them and I was like, how is my relationship with them? What's my contract with this person?
Mm.
You can look at contracts spiritually, you can look at them physically, like here on earth, and both, because we are spiritual beings as well, right? So, but we're humans as well. So, so you kind of get a feel for, okay, when I with that person, how do I feel after I've spent time with them? Am I drained? Am I energized? Neutral? And if I hit something asking that question first, like I'm pretty drained. I kind of try to avoid talking to them or whatever. Like, okay, what's going on? So where's the leak? Why is it that because that's gonna be a hindrance to me recovering whenever I see them, my energy is gonna be lower. My
Yeah.
frequency is gonna be lowered. So and
Mm.
these are people in my inner circle that I want in my life, right? So, what do I need to do to change that contract so that it's more balanced and it's healthy for both of us? Because it's healthy, it's better for both of us, like that
Right.
way.
Yeah.
So then I would decide, okay, oh, I need it's usually it's I don't put it on the other person like I'm the victim. It's like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to say no when this happens, or I need to
Mm.
um have a conversation with them about how we're communicating or doing this, and does she or he want to continue to do that pattern together? Is it something? And I literally took these people out to lunch or had them come over and see me while I was recovering, and could only do one person at a time, and and would ask these questions, and a lot of them, overall people took it really well.
Mm.
Kind of like never had thought about that, right? So we had this conversation and tried to figure out what to do. Some were not, and especially in the inner circle, did not want that contract to change. I was the caretaker for a lot of people in my family,
Mm. Yeah.
and it triggered them, and they disappeared for a couple of months and didn't talk to me. But you know what? It was worth it, and in the end, it all got more balanced, and we were fine. But it's something. So it's rebalancing the way that you're spending energy with people, and so that you can then be like sustained and also more vibrant, and just more healthy. And so then I moved outside to my friends, and then it actually became easier than the inner circle with the rebalancing. They had more reactions. Um, oh, something when you're redoing your contracts with your family or friends and rebalancing them, something that happens is die off, just like infections.
Mm.
Get people like that will have extinction bursts is what I call it. It's like the die off effect, and they might have an emotional like anger at you or something else, and just know that it won't last. It's kind of
Mm.
like with therapy this can happen too when you change your behavior. So they'll have a fit or a little rage or a cry or try to get you back into being the person that you were before.
Mm.
Like caretaking or doing when you're changing the contract. That's one of the signs that
Oh.
you're doing your work. um,
Oh, that's crazy.
so it kind of mirrors the infections. When you're treating infections and you start doing your contract work, you'll have people having die off around you if you're doing it right. Like it's you're changing. They wanted you to stay the same. That's part of the contract. So, um, so then the friends, I did the same thing. I take them out to lunch and I would look at like, okay, am I giving more, taking more? Is it someone that I'm kind of like, oh, they're calling and I don't really want to call them back? Like, is this someone I want to keep in my life? Can it be fixed? Is it healthy? And then have the conversation with them. And one or two people kind of disappeared off my radar, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was just kind of like, I don't think we're on the same page anymore, both of us. So,
Mm.
but it really cleaned up my energy drains, is what I would call them, where I'm allowing energy to go out, right? Because I'm giving it or not when I didn't really want to.
Right.
and helps me get better. Bigger.
That's fascinating to me. Those are, yeah, it's just, I'm sure many people are going to listen to that and realize that's something they need to be addressing. But those are tough conversations to have, aren't they?
Yeah,
We all have so much guilt as
yeah.
well that, yeah, that's a tough one.
Roles in our families and in our friendships, and
Mhm.
those roles were created when we're really young. We take them
Right.
on. It's a way to get love in our system, and there's no bad people. Some of us are caretakers more. Some of us are people that need caretaking. Some of us are the persecutor. Whatever. It's there's so many different roles that you could be, but you do have choice in like changing that. But you have to have that conversation. Or I usually start with like the compliments of like in terms of what I appreciate about the person and our friendship or our family, and truly what why I want them in my life still, but then I
Right.
need to change, and it's just something. And are they interested or not?
The path to recovery, whether you're healing from cancer or COVID or autoimmune disease or Lyme, and I know your opinion is the same as mine. They're all the same, and it involves being the driver and not the passenger, and looking within to self heal on all the things we've talked about, from mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic to our physical level. And you talk about this in your book as well, and you talk about the diamond of healing, the energy body. And I think we've touched a little bit on this through the course of our conversation, but can you elaborate on this a little bit more, and why is this so important? And not just when dealing with the health crisis, but also, living in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah. So I created it because I created the diamond of healing philosophy because I wanted to give a way for people to quickly assess their whole body, their whole self. And the diamond has four sides, and the one side is physical body, and I included like questions to help you kind of assess how's your physical body's health, how's your physical body's balance. It's all about balance.
Hmm.
So it might be like, how's your nutrition doing? You look at all parts of the physical body, like which includes nutrition and exercise and lifestyle, and then like any health difficulties you're having or disturbances, because those are imbalances, and where you might need to make some changes in your lifestyle, stuff you can do on a daily basis, right? So, hey, I'm a little bit off. Let me see. Is it my physical body? I'll go through that list. Oh, yeah, actually, I have been eating sugar all week. I've been enjoying it, but I better just cut that out. That might help with my imbalance where I'm feeling a little bit off, right? Um,
Hmm.
the other sides are the mental emotional body, and that you might start having negative thinking in terms of like, or core belief thoughts that are kind of like with shame. You
Hmm.
might start, I don't know, for me when it's imbalanced, like I'll have more shame thoughts, like where I'm feeling like I want to hide or I don't want to make that phone call. I have anxiety. These little tips, each person has their own. Some get depressed and want to hide, so
Hmm.
so you want to have balance in your mental emotional health where your clarity for your mental, you know, you can read, you can do things, you can think, you enjoy it, you want to learn. That would be healthy, right? More balanced. Mental emotional, you're more optimistic or you're more curious or your inner peace state or more joy, or just you have a sense of like confidence and a sense of self that feels good. If those things are off, then you could go to that side and go, well, where am I a little bit off? What do I need to shift or change, or what could be at the cause? And sometimes it's over in the physical body that's causing the mental emotional, right? Like low blood sugar can cause
Hmm.
have a low self confidence, or all those emotions can come up when the physical body goes off, right? So they're all interconnected with the diamond, but you can quickly assess by going around the diamond and hitting those questions which area where it's showing up as a symptom or what you need to do. The
Love
other
it.
one is social body. So, what environments are you putting yourself into with people?
Mhm.
So, when you're socially interacting with people, you are taking more frequency. So, when two get together, you're sharing frequency. And if you're around a group of people that are more not in alignment with who you are, it can shift you. It might not be that they're bad or negative or anything. It's just not in alignment with your truth.
Mm.
That can also affect you, right? So it's looking at your social environment that you put yourself in. Do you go to a church? Do you go to a school? Do you go to like, your work environment? And how does it affect you or your friends or when they're with certain other people? How does it affect you?
Mm.
So looking at that, because you clean that up, and also as you can see, all these things can affect each other.
Yep.
Mental, emotional is affected by that. Physical can affect that. So now the fourth side is spirit, body, and for me, it's be like looking at how you are connecting to your higher self and to whatever you believe in, if it's God or if it's just spiritual, higher self with yourself, or there's lots of you could be many things, right? But the spirit body is important to us because we have energy that
Mm.
is soul, or we could call it, or vital force, or whatever. That's part of that animates our body, our physical body. So, and you need to be able to connect with that and know what's important to you and what your purpose is. Because if you don't have that, you can be kind of lost, and that can lead to physical things, like I've said, and other things. So the spirit body, it might be finding, if you don't have any connection to spirit body, there's ways to help you connect. And I give some stuff on that in the book. And then all four of these come together and they make the energy body, which is in the center. And to me, the energy body is how it all sides end up relating to each other and interacting, because we are energy at the source. Every piece of us, even though we're physical, it's actually just a bunch of atoms. So we are energy. We are a frequency. And even when we die, we continue on with the energy, right? Like the energy doesn't die. Like energy doesn't go away. We can't destroy it. So the energy body is also a spot where, if you can, like disturbances in the energy body usually come on before they manifest physically.
Right.
So it's if you can catch it before it manifests physically, like by kind of monitoring these areas that you could be disturbed in,
Mm.
you can actually make lifestyle changes, take supplements, things, and shift it. And then you stay well. And your physical body doesn't have as much to have to, heal. Because our physical bodies are dense, they're heavier, they're lower frequency. Our energy body is a higher frequency. Our spirit is a higher frequency. It's in this body to be here as a human, grounded in the earth, and but it takes a little longer to fix when it does get out of whack than just the energy body itself.
The road to returning to health, of course, as you've lived through and are continuing to live through, is long and daunting. And for many people, it's just too difficult and they kind of throw in the towel or stop doing that work. What would you say to someone who's been struggling for a long time, to heal from an illness or disease? What would be your kind of words of wisdom or advice to them?
The main thing that I always want to remind people when they're in that state is it's a moment. We're all of our life is just one moment with another moment with another moment. So remember, when you're in like the hardest, most painful time, this is what I really got when I was going through cancer treatment. More recently, I was in so much pain at one point, and it just came to me so clearly, like, this is a moment. It's just a moment. It's gonna pass. And suddenly it passed. It's like it it didn't last long, and this isn't forever, and it will pass. It will get better. I mean, that, or you die, but if we're planning on living, then like you get through the moment and it's gone and you're on to a new moment. So every moment is a new moment. You can restart, you can change what you're doing. It's a rebirth. Every moment you can choose. There's a lot of choice, and you might have pain, but remembering that it won't be forever. It is a moment that is terrible, but it will pass. It's not forever. And that was like the hugest thing. I think with Lyme and any other health stuff I've dealt with, remembering that this is a moment, it will pass, and it's helped a lot of other people when I've talked to them when they're in that state. So
Yeah, I love that. So don't give up hope. Just,
yeah,
keep one foot in front of the other and
yeah.
you'll get through it. And hope is a big one for a lot of people. So Carolyn, we didn't touch upon your near-death experience very much in our little chat today, but you talk a lot about it in your book, and I know you've recorded multiple interviews about it, and there's a lot that people can learn from that. But just share maybe a short segment on that experience for you and what you took away from that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I had a near death, and I was laying in an MRI machine and left my body all the way up, and what I fully left Earth, and I wanted to come back down, and I luckily did. But in the process of that happening, when I was coming back down to my body, and I hit my body, and the MRI machine turned off and broke, I got a complete nervous system reset. And one of the gifts that came from that is that any like trauma or triggers were gone, like from my whole life leading up to the moment of the stroke. And I have a lovely family, but I definitely had a lot of, there were some abusive things that happened and things that happened that my nervous system was pretty heightened. And it was all reset. And one of the really cool things was would see if I thought of my memories from before the stroke and the near death, my memories would come up as like a film strip. And what this did was when I'd watched the film of my life, like the memories as they came up, instead of like right now, when I have a memory of something between the stroke and now, it's like first person, like I'm remembering it as from my eyes. But this is a video that plays, and the only emotion that is with me when I watch it, no matter what it is, that the memory that I'm remembering, the emotion that gets triggered is love, and that's it, the love frequency. And I really learned when I went that you don't take anything from this earth other than love. Like, you don't take money, you don't take any of your resentment or anger that I had about things or other things. It was literally love. Love is all that mattered. Love is all that went with me, and love is all that came back down with me on the things that had happened. And it was so powerful and strong. It shifted how I saw everything. Because even my challenges with the Lyme, after the near death experience, I had to go and find out I had Lyme and go through all the die off and the pain and it was, it's not easy. It helped me so much knowing that I wasn't taking this pain with me. I wasn't taking the anger or anything that was getting removed or people getting upset, or it's just love. Love is all that matters. So the people that I was with, spending time with them, that mattered. Like, it made it so clear, and it still has. And it's just the most important thing we can do is love one another and have love. It sounds corny, but that's all we take. We can't bring our bank account with us. We can't bring, but I was relieved that like forgiveness is real. I had a mom who was really abusive, and I had so much resentment and fear with her and stuff. And after the near death, after that happened, it turned into, I had full love for everything that happened with her. And you can't like it wasn't like I was forcing it on myself. It just was there. So to know that piece is there and that is there, is just helpful. I don't know.
Yeah, that's hopeful too. That all contributes to that overall feeling of hope that we chatted about.
Yes.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. So if anybody wants to learn more about your near-death experience, there's a lot of, I'll post some links for sure. So thank you, Carolyn. Your book was so inspirational, and I really feel that anybody living with Lyme disease or any autoimmune disorder or illness, this book is such a fantastic tool. Because, I love what you said. When life gives you limes, make limeade. And that's just really, a great analogy for, what we all are going through in our day to day. There's lots of hiccups happening and lots of things. And you've given us a lot of great tools. And I love how clearly you've outlined all the key components required to heal, from building your support team, finding integrative physicians, people that can work with one another, because it's not a one size fits all. And then I also loved how you talk a lot about the different toxins in the environment and how to take that into consideration when you're unwell, and setting boundaries with people. You provide such an incredible roadmap, and it's super easy to follow. And the support that you're providing people who are going through this living with illness and disease is really powerful. So thank you so much. Congratulations with your accomplishment and all your ongoing accomplishments. And I truly wish you all the most success in all your future endeavors.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much, Marcy.